Thank you all for staying. My name is Nigel Samaru. I'm the board of Bike Maryland. And it is my pleasure to introduce our first speaker of the afternoon. His name is Chris Eatough, and I've known Chris for several years now. His topic will be on how to achieve progress on bike infrastructure. Chris is the Bicycle and Pedestrian Coordinator for the Howard County Office of Transportation. Over the last 10 years, Chris's work for Howard County has been focused on developing the Bike Howard Master Plan, the Walk Howard Master Plan, the Howard County Complete Streets Policy, and the Howard County Complete Streets Design Manual. In his previous career, and he's got quite a career, he has enjoyed traveling the world as a professional endurance cyclist, including 6 world championships in the 24-hour solo mountain bike racing. Yeah. As a Howard County employee and resident with 2 children in the public school system, Chris is focused on improving street safety for all, providing equitable transportation options, and helping create a bikeable and walkable Howard County. Please join me in welcoming Chris Eatough. Thank you.
Thanks, Nigel. All right, thank you, Nigel. Thank you, guys. Good to be back. Been to many of these over the years. And I was going to talk a little bit about Howard County. So Peter asked me to kind of talk about our experiences in Howard County over the years, and in the hope that that's somewhat of a blueprint or lessons learned for other jurisdictions and other advocates from other parts of the state. So that's not a presentation that I've given before, so it was a good opportunity to kind of think about what we've accomplished in recent years in Howard County and go through it and put it down into a presentation. So I'm happy to share it with you. We're from Howard County. Everyone know where Howard County is? Just right here, just to the west of Baltimore City. We're a population of 344,000. And a couple of fun facts. Did you know there's a Morse code connection for Howard County? The Morse code inventor, Samuel Morse, stayed in Howard County during the 1840s, and he's said to have perfected the single wire telegraph when he was in Howard County. Another fun fact, did you know that Babe Ruth got married in Howard County? So in Ellicott City, Babe Ruth was married in 1914. So this is a little timeline that I put together. I'm not saying this is everything that's been accomplished in Howard County. I wanted to keep to the time constraints and keep it reasonable, but it was good to go through this and kind of think about timeline from about 2008, which is really where I would say our journey mostly started, to the present. So in 2008, our Bicycle Advocates of Howard County, now known as Bike HOCO, was established. This is our local nonprofit bike advocacy group. I'm sure everyone in this room is familiar because a lot of people in this room are from Bike HOCO and help establish Bike HOCO. So this is really where it all began. Initially, some of the priorities for Bike HOCO were to establish a bicycle advisory group. This is basically a group that meets regularly between county officials and bike advocates and other stakeholders, anybody in Howard County that really has anything to do with bicycle transportation and bicycling in general was invited to the Bicycle Advisory Group back in 2009. It's a group that's still going strong. We have quarterly meetings, and it really has been important. It's a great first step if you don't already have some kind of some kind of established formal group on to communicate with your county officials, leadership, staff, police, schools, get all those people together, get them in a regular group, get to know each other, and get doing things and tackling issues together. Another early priority was to hire a bicycle and pedestrian coordinator, something I appreciate because that is my role in Howard County. That's what I do. I've been with the county for over 11 years now, so that's all thanks to the Bicycle Advocates of Howard County, Bike HOCO. More recently, the priorities for the Bike HOCO group has been to advocate for increased funding for improved bicycle infrastructure in Howard County. So that tends to focus on this time of the year when county budgets are being discussed, but it's it's a year-by-year effort. And I've got some data later that I can show you on bike funding in Howard County that shows you how successful they've been in getting more funding for bike infrastructure in Howard County. A couple other priorities for the Bike HOCO group have been bike education in our schools. So that's something they've made great progress with and continue to work on. There's still a long way to go in terms of getting bicycle education fully integrated into Howard County public school system. And also bike racks at schools has been another focus area. So moving on to 2014, that's when the first Howard County Bicycle Pedestrian Coordinator with less gray hair than he has now was hired. So this is a picture from back then. So I came Howard County resident for a long time, close to 20 years. I have kids grown up in Howard County and gone through the Howard County school system. Big cyclist myself. You heard a little bit about my athletic background, but I also use bicycles for everything they can be used for: transportation, commuting, as well as recreation and sport as well. And so do my kids. So big Howard County biking family. I worked previously in Arlington County, Virginia. That's where I had my first kind of bike planning job. I worked down there for about 5 years, and then was happy to be able to come up to Howard County where I live with my family. Next big milestone was 2015. Just over 10 years ago, we established our first Howard County Bicycle Master Plan. This was a big effort. Took probably about 2 years, much of which was actually before when I started in 2014. A lot of this was already done, but we completed it in 2015. It was actually adopted by our county council in 2016. And this has been our guide for the last 10 plus years. This master plan basically shows all the recommended improvements for bike infrastructure in Howard County: bike lanes, pathways, all kinds of other improvements, as well as policy, education, encouragement. All the E's that we all know about are all included in there. It's been a good guide. It's resulted in over 60 miles of new bicycle infrastructure in that time in Howard County. So most of that is on-street bike lanes. Some of it is shared use pathways, but it's really gone a long way to establish a bike network in Howard County. Not yet a complete bike network, but much better than it was 10 years ago. Next milestone is around 2016. We started getting a lot of good support from a local health foundation in Howard County called the Horizon Foundation. They realized that walking and biking is a great way to help people be healthier in Howard County. And that is this group called the Horizon Foundation. That's essentially their mission, is they have funding through the medical system to promote health in Howard County, try to get some of those good upstream effects so that we don't have as many health problems on the downstream in Howard County. So they were putting money into promoting walking and biking in Howard County, and for about 4 years, they put on these large-scale open streets events in Howard County. So you may have seen these in bigger cities like DC, where they close down the street for a day to motor vehicles, and they have it fully open to people walking and biking and rolling and skating, and kind of a street festival style, which this very much was a street festival. But the one slightly different thing about our open streets events in Howard County is we did leave the street open to motor vehicles during the event. So the concept was more that we would segment off a portion of the street. So we would find streets that were maybe overly wide, a 4-lane highway that didn't really need to be 4 lanes, for example, convert the outer lanes to bike and pedestrian areas for a day or a weekend, and demonstrate a different vision for the street than is currently being used, and show that people can still coexist and use the street in their motor vehicles, but use it for very safe, family-friendly walking and biking as well. So these were popular, well-attended, especially when the weather was good. We had a couple of rainouts, and that obviously hurts with events. But these, I think, were really helpful in getting the general public interested and helping them have the vision for how these improvements can come to Howard County. In 2017, we started one of the recommendations of our Bicycle Master Plan, which was to have a public bike sharing program. So Howard County Bike Share started in 2017. Lasted for about 5 years. So we don't currently have a bike share program in Howard County. We learned some good lessons, I think, through the bike share program. It was relatively successful. Ridership was relatively good. Not as much as you would get in a big city type bike share system. We had about 15,000 rides in just over 4 years on Howard County Bike Share. So we had some up months and some down months. On the up months, I think it showed that there is value in a program like this, and having a bike share program in a place like Howard County. It was well used at certain times of the year and around certain events. If we had events in the area, it tended to be used at a higher rate, but probably not well used enough to be self-sustaining in terms of a financial model that can just live off its own revenue. So we were able to get revenue for those years from the Horizon Foundation that I mentioned, from the Columbia Association, from the Community College, from the Columbia Mall, and from Howard Hughes, a developer in Howard County. So we had outside funding that helped support the program. But like I said, probably not enough ridership to actually generate revenue to be self-sustaining. The vendor also turned out to be a little bit unreliable. So B. Wiegand was the vendor for our bike share program. The system worked well when it was working, but they were running into basically IT problems and like having to update some of that technology and some of that electronic equipment, which they were not doing at a rate that was good enough to really keep the system working well. So once the reliability started to fade, then ridership started to fade, and that's when in 2022 when they no longer operated in Howard County. So there is a spot open if anyone is involved with bike share and would like to come to Howard County to operate. Talk to me. Around 2019, this was a big time for us in Howard County. I think this is, in my opinion, the most significant progress we've made is around our Complete Streets policy and our Complete Streets Design Manual update. So Complete Streets policy for Howard County was established in 2019. Basically, this says that our streets are for everybody and no mode should have priority over another mode. So our streets are not just for cars. Walking and biking and taking transit is just as important on our streets, and the safety of those people doing any mode of travel on our streets is the #1 priority. Fast moving and efficient moving of motor vehicles is not a priority. Safety is the priority, and our streets must take all road users into account. So it's kind of a very basic, standard, common sense statement, but to get that down in an official policy, get all your decision makers from different departments and different areas in the county to agree to that and get it actually codified into your legislator somehow is really important. The reason it's important is it really spreads the effort, not just from advocates like people in this room and people like me that believe in this topic, or that this is one of their kind of everyday regular topics, but people in planning and zoning and public works and police that have lots of other work to do, but they need to realize that this is important and part of their work also. So we had a Complete Streets policy. We followed that up by updating our design manual. What that means, the Howard County Design Manual is basically our technical design guidance for our streets in Howard County. It tells you how wide the road should be, how wide the lanes, what kind of bicycle facilities and pedestrian facilities are required on all of our streets. So we thoroughly updated that design manual. It has bike lane designs in there. It has crosswalk designs. It has a lot of statements to say that if you're building, developers are building a new street, they have to build it a certain way. It has all these design templates that are in there. So design manual is really important as well, because for years we heard from our road designers that we can't do these certain bike lanes because we don't have guidance for them. They're not in our guidance. Well, we worked for close to 2 years on this, and we got them into our guidance, and we got that established. We worked hard on it, and we were very happy when we got our kind of scorecard from, there's a national group called Complete Streets America, Smart Growth America. It's their Complete Streets Coalition, and they grade Complete Streets policies all across the country. There's hundreds of them. Many jurisdictions, cities, states, local jurisdictions have Complete Streets policies. They get a score out of 100. Howard County scored 100. 100 out of 100, first time that score has ever been given. I don't think it's been given since. So we were very proud of that. Like I said, it took us about 2 years to establish this, to create this complete streets policy and the design manual. We did follow the blueprint from this group, Smart Growth America. They tell you this is what we consider to be a good, complete streets policy. This is how you do it. These are all the things we expect to see. They have great guidance on that. We followed it to a T. So we kind of went into it trying to get a high score, trying to create an excellent policy, and we're happy that we did. It's serving us well. So these are the kind of results that you get out of that on the ground. This is our first protected bike lane in Howard County on Oakland Mills Road. It's about a 1.1 mile section where we did a major road diet, took a road from a 4-lane cross section the way it had been for decades, and we dieted that down to 1 lane in each direction, a center turn lane or pedestrian refuge island lane if there's a pedestrian crossing there, and protected bike lanes, 2-way bike lane on one side of the street. So this was a big step for us. We did not have anything like this previously in Howard County. We weren't just working on the edges of a roadway and just working with some leftover space that nobody else was using. We actually completely redesigned a major roadway in Howard County. We do have other protected bike lanes since then in Howard County. Since 2022, we've done a similar treatment on Columbia Road, and then we're working on one now. We're midway through a change to Old Columbia Road, different than Columbia Road. And then we're getting close to present. So 2026 is where we are now. We're just over 10 years since our original bicycle master plan was established, and we're working on an update to that plan. So it's the first major update to Bike Howard. We are getting right into that process right now. We're going to have these 4 public workshops coming up in the months of February and March in Howard County. Please come join us if you have any interest, if you happen to be local, if you happen to have any interest in biking in Howard County. This is where we will gather most of our input. We will have maps and discussions with residents and people that bike or people that want to bike. And that's really our best source of information for updating our bicycle master plan. In terms of what do we want to change from our initial plan, my thinking is we need to emerge from kind of more from the center, out of the center of Howard County, where our original bicycle master plan was a bit more focused on building on our current system, which was more central focused, and connecting some of those networks up and really reaching more of the peripheries of Howard County and some of the areas that have been a bit more neglected that are still hard to bike to or bike from or bike around in. There's also some additional tools now that we have at our disposal that we didn't really have 10 years ago. Bicycle level of traffic stress is a much more established tool that we can use to look for those network gaps, and that's some of the more kind of analytical side that we plan on doing for this Bike Howard update. So that is our timeline. That's what we've been working on. I mentioned that I would show you a little bit more about the funding situation for bicycle infrastructure in Howard County, and this is the funding picture year over year. You can see this, it starts in fiscal year 2015 on the left, and it goes up to the current fiscal year 26. So you can see substantial increase from around 2 million per year to around 15 million per year. Now this is for bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure. We oftentimes group them together. So it could be bike lanes, sidewalks, shade use pathways, crosswalks, all those features. And the blue bar is for new infrastructure, and the orange bar is for maintenance of existing infrastructure, which is also important and also needs to increase as you're increasing your amount of infrastructure that you have. It's going to cost you more to maintain it. Snow is one of the issues that we're currently working with, obviously, in the region. And those protected bike lanes that I showed, they are more difficult to clear snow from, so we're trying to figure that out. Our DPW needs new snow clearing techniques. They need new snow clearing equipment to be able to get in there behind those flex posts and clear that snow out. So those are the kind of things we're working on with our maintenance cost. I will say there's other funding sources other than this. This is county provided funding sources in our capital budget. So we also go after grants for a lot of our bigger projects. I'd estimate in this last 10 years or so, we've had probably between $15 and $20 million worth of grant funding for some of our bigger projects. The Transportation Alternatives Program and the Bike Maryland program are probably the two most common grant funding opportunities that we have and that we go after every year. And then in terms of what else comes next with our bike master plan, update is a big priority for us this year, but we're also hiring a safe routes to school coordinator. So this will be the first time we've had a specific person to work on safe routes to school issues. It's really become apparent that we have lots of schools in Howard County. It's a very family-orientated community and a very school-orientated community. And we need to do better in making sure that our kids can walk and bike to school safely, and that's what this person is going to do. We have a grant through MDOT and the Transportation Alternatives Program, so we're excited about that to start in 2026. I'm going to pause and see if there are any questions, and any remaining time that we have, we can have a discussion on all this. Yes, sir.
How big is your staff within your department?
Every employee in Howard County is our staff. So in terms of, I think I know what you're asking. Specifically, I am the bicycle and pedestrian coordinator. I have one person that assists me with technical GIS type work. So I guess technically, officially, you could maybe say two people, and then we're hiring the Safe Routes to School coordinator, who's a third. But again, it's not an easy question to answer because people that work in the school transportation system work a lot on, there are people that work primarily on biking and walking issues at the school system. There are people at DPZ that work on development review that specifically look at bike and pedestrian infrastructure, so it's a big part of their job. So there may only be two of us that kind of have that officially, the word bicycle in their title, but that complete streets policy, that really has, like I said, helped spread it across the county where it's a piece of many, many people's work now. Yes, sir.
You mentioned difficulties, what about routine cleaning?
That's hard too.
Yeah.
Similar, we have struggled with it this last couple of years since we really started this, and DPW is purchasing leaf clearing equipment. Basically, it's mostly tree foliage. Like, we have a lot of trees in Howard County. We pride ourselves on being a very green community, and those trees drop leaves, branches, nuts. We all know that the edges of the roadway tend to get cluttered up with those things. And it's harder to clear, again, when you have protection. The protection is great for keeping motor vehicles separated from non-motor vehicles, from people, but it also makes the machinery much more difficult to get back there into those tight areas. So we've done a little bit of contractor work to fill in the gap, where I found a contractor that could basically blow and suck leaves off of our protected bike lanes, and we've been hiring them. The hard part is you hire them, they work for a full day, they clear them off, and then you come back in a week and it's just like it was, especially in the fall. In the month of October is obviously the hardest time of the year because everything's falling off the trees. So basically, we're working on getting that more institutionalized into our DPW Public Works work plan, so they have equipment and people and time to work on that on a regular basis, especially in the fall.
How were you able to get the council to get on board to want to go ahead and bump up the infrastructure spending? And maybe it's a related question, but how did you almost double your budget from 2023 to 2024?
Yeah, so a few things. I mentioned advocacy. The advocates are relentless. They don't take a year off. They don't see $8 million in funding and say, that's it, we've got enough, we don't need to advocate anymore. They advocate more and more and more every year. And they stay in touch with staff through the bicycle advisory group, so they can establish priority projects and give input, and then those projects, they have them in hand to talk about when they go to the hearings. They show up at all the hearings with the county executive to talk about the budget. They show up in dozens sometimes. Larry, Jack, 40, 50 bike advocates showing up at a council hearing, more than anybody else is showing up for any other topic in the budget. The decision makers cannot ignore that. I will say we've also had good support from all of our leadership, both on the county council and our county executive. County Executive Ball, Calvin Ball has been our county executive for the last 8 years. You can see that correlates with increased funding. He's been extremely supportive of funding for bike infrastructure. It's a popular topic. The more that we build, the more requests we get, so that's a good sign as well. And And it's really just about being relentless and hopefully having reasonable people on the leadership side that hear that advocacy and understand it and support it also. Oh, yeah.
Was your bike share system purely top? And if you were to bring back a bike share system to Howard County, would you be considering only a dock system or a dockless system as well?
It was a dock system, which at the time was the more common program. But yes, I think if we were, there's obviously more options now with dockless and with more e-bikes as well. Our bike share system did have about 25 or 30% e-bikes, so we did have that. But the technology has changed a little bit, and the options have changed, and I'm sure we would be interested in maybe some kind of hybrid system. I see pluses and minuses for both. We did have a brief scooter program as well, which was undocked. And the undocked nature brings some convenience and some lower cost, but it also brings a lot more clutter, for want of a better word, a lot more kind of randomness to it, which is good in some ways for usage and for convenience, that the vehicles are randomly parked and you might be able to find one in the place that you want one. But it also tends to provoke some angst amongst community members where they don't like the clutter or they don't like the untidiness of it. So maybe, I guess is the answer, maybe. Oh, how much time do we have, by the way, for this?
How about one more question that came in online?
Yeah, so we got a question from the live stream, which is what happened in 2024 that led to the large jump in funding?
No, this doesn't have any transit stuff in here. Oh, no school bus stuff in here. Calvin Ball was our county executive, but he was before that as well. So I'm not sure. I might need to do some research on myself. We probably had those projects that were teed up and ready that needed funding, and we requested them and got advocacy for them, and that managed to get passed through the budget. But I hadn't really looked at that jump before and managed to find a correlation. Sorry, John. Cutting me off, John. Well, thank you all. Hopefully this was useful, and good luck today with everything else.